if all of this never happened, I probably would have been a nurse and I would have loved it. Yeah, I was really good at math and science. At doctor's appointments and hospitals, I always thought the nurses were very kind and made the experience much more comfortable, and I want to do that for other people. I did I guess not a full flip-flop, because now what I'm doing is still with the intention of saving lives, but just in a different way. My name is Jaclyn Corin. I am from Parkland, Florida. I am a survivor of the Parkland shooting, which happened on February 14th, 2018. I spent 2 years working my heart out, building March for Our Lives. I definitely have a before and after Parkland. I grew up in Parkland. I lived in the same house all my life until I went to grad school. And growing up in Parkland was extremely safe, extremely comfortable. There was this sort of bubble that was very insular that I lived in, but then the day of the shooting, that bubble popped and I was forced to grow up very quickly. I was hiding in a classroom for over 3 hours during the shooting. Once I finally got out of the school, we were evacuated by FBI agents. I met my dad in the middle of the street and he walked me home. The first thing I thought was, how do I make sure that this never happens again? And I felt this sort of calling to do something because intrinsically that's the type of person I am. And also I was my class president at the time, so I was thinking, like, how do I, as a leader in the school, do something for my peers to make them feel empowered in a moment like this? I also felt, that was just like a natural way to express my grief and gratitude for being alive. The fact that I was able to still be breathing and my friend Jamie Guttenberg was not, who was 14 at the time of her killing. I just was like, I don't know how to do this, but I'm going to learn because it's for her and all the other people who died. So I just made a post on my Instagram and Facebook saying that we need to do everything we can to change gun laws in the state of Florida. And a family friend who was a former county commissioner saw my post and just said, are you serious about trying to change things in the state of Florida? If so, I can connect you to someone in Tallahassee at a state senator's office. At the time, I was, a child. I didn't know that I had access to elected officials. I didn't know that I could go and talk to them. And I think a lot of young people don't know that they actually have that access readily available to them. But that's what elected officials are there for. It's to represent you. I got on the phone the very next morning with a Florida state senator's office, talked about the fact that I wanted to come up and chat with people about what happened. And they said, we will help you book meetings if you get kids up here. And so the next 6 days, I worked day in and day out to recruit 100 of my classmates, get coach buses, have cots set up in a Florida civic center. It was this large logistical feat that was completed in less than a week. That really kicked off a lot of change in the state of Florida. After we came to lobby the legislature, they changed the age to buy a firearm from 18 to 21 in the state of Florida. And they also instituted extreme risk protection orders, which basically, if someone is showing warning signs of wanting to hurt themselves or others, through a system of due process, they may get their firearms temporarily removed from them to make sure that they don't hurt anyone, including themselves. Those two laws together have saved likely thousands of lives in the state of Florida in the last 7 years. The fact that a 17-year-old was able to really push that change forward speaks to the fact that any 17-year-old could do that if they put their heart and mind to it. I have been lucky enough to meet so many incredible role models since I founded March for Our Lives. Principal among them are other gun violence survivors who have been dedicating their lives to ending the epidemic since they were affected. And over the summer of 2018, a few months after the Parkland shooting, myself and all of the other March for Lives co-founders and other March for Lives activists, we traveled all around the country for 2 months straight, going to different communities, many of which have personally been affected by gun violence, and just meeting them and having conversations in survivor circles. It really gives you a sense of community and you're not alone, because experiencing gun violence can be so isolating and scary. But unfortunately, the truth is that so many people also know what that feels like in this country. I've made friends of other survivors from mass shootings that, are infamous. I also was lucky enough to gain mentors in volunteers who were supporting us in organizing the march, people who have been activists for a long time. We had folks come in to do event production for us, and I'm still in touch with so many of them today. One of them, a mentor, Michelle, was the one who encouraged me to apply to Harvard. I'm still in touch with her to this day. There are so many activists, women activists, who are inspiring to me. Dolores Huerta is someone that, I've looked to for a long time as someone who has dedicated her life to advocacy. Another role model of mine is my dad, who passed away a few years ago, unfortunately. But I admire him so much because he's someone who actually changed his political opinions over time. That takes a lot of courage to really look inward and say, actually, I think the way I've been approaching the world is maybe wrong, and there's a different way to think about it. But he was not originally supportive of what I was doing at first to end gun violence, and his skepticism moved him to accompany me as a chaperone to a lot of meetings and trips. And over the course of a few weeks and months, seeing me in those settings, he began to interrogate himself on what he believes. And then a few months later, he was a full-on supporter. After the shooting, I pursued EMDR therapy, which is a specific form of therapy basically geared towards healthily reprocessing traumatic incidents, and that was really helpful. But I think also being active, running, or hanging out with friends, and there are moments that are very difficult where, for me, I just want to turn in on myself, but the best thing to do is to open yourself up. I was a dancer growing up. I actually danced in college too. I was in a hip-hop company, which was a lot of fun. And then in grad school, I was actually in a band. I always sing to myself when I'm feeling stressed. I also, have seasons where I like to run. I'm currently in one of those seasons. I'm training for my second half marathon, and I just really try to be intentional with spending time with friends. I grew up thinking I was gonna go to UF or FSU my whole life just because that's what I saw and that's what everyone from my school did. But my mentor, Michelle, she went to the grad school of education at Harvard and was just like, Jackie, you belong at this place and you should apply. And I was like, what? That does not happen. I'm not gonna apply to Harvard. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna humor you and apply, and lo and behold, I got in. Despite being a leader in my school community, still think myself to be an introvert, and I always really was an introvert. In being an introvert and also a woman, a girl at the time when I was in high school, it was hard to know how to inject my voice into a conversation where there were already a lot of loud voices. And sometimes I even still struggle with that. It's hard. Sometimes when you're in new environments, and there's a lot of people with a lot of strong opinions, sometimes it feels easier to, take a back seat. But I learned with time that often the voices that maybe are not the loudest and most dominant in a space are the ones we should really be making sure we listen to. And everyone has, a special place in a conversation. Everyone has different perspectives to bring, and I believed that at my core. And so it was antithetical to that belief for me to also think that I didn't have a place in a conversation. I think college was a place for me to just be exposed to so much that I just didn't know about the world. You're surrounded by a group of people with similar life experiences and also drastically different life experiences. And it's sort of a way to thrust yourself into the real world and also have like structured programs that allow you to socialize, meet new people, explore different aspects of yourself through clubs and classes. That being said, you know, college is not for everyone, and that's totally okay too. Confidence has absolutely been an issue for me. Even though I had a lot of success with the start of March for Our Lives, I made a big impact. I had people telling me every day that I was making a big impact. It still often feels like it's not enough. And I think a lot of girls and women are perfectionists because we're taught to be perfectionists and like we can't make mistakes. But I encourage every girl to throw that notion out the window and actually encourage you to make mistakes and, you know, not expect yourself to be perfect, because that's how you learn. There's also a notion that it's either you're not confident or you're confident. But the truth is that there are days where you're gonna feel more confident than other days, and that's okay to ebb and flow. And just on your lesser confident days, tap into the more confident version of yourself because it exists. I think everyone does have an inner critic, and I remind myself that that inner critic is not me. That's not who I am at my core. I try to like separate that critic as this like separate entity so it doesn't make me feel like I'm inherently flawed. If you don't know what you want to do and you're in high school or college, I would say that is very normal. Actually, I'd encourage high school and college students to not definitively decide what they want to do 100%. But you know, if you know you want to be a doctor, like go to med school. But like for the kids who may not know as clearly, like that is okay, and actually important that some people are, you know, you're still deciding and letting your experiences guide you in the direction that you're meant to go down. I do not think your purpose has to be your entire career, but I do think that your purpose should always be present in your career. If I were to talk to my high school self, I would say slow down. I think I put a lot of pressure on myself and therefore burnt out a little bit when it comes to advocacy work. But the truth is that the things that we care about often are not solvable overnight and require a marathon, not a sprint. And I'd also say slow down to encourage myself to, you know, enjoy the moment of life that I'm in and enjoy my friends. Life moves quickly. I would tell other young people to find community. I think we live in a very isolated world with our social media, and it's really easy to compare ourselves to the influencers we see online. But like that's not real life, and real life is actually what's right in front of you. So tap into your community, find ways to get involved with the things happening around you, and be in the real world. I've thought about giving up so much. I think it's a really hard thing to dedicate yourself to something you are personally affected by. And I have learned to be very kind and supportive of myself, knowing that it's hard and that I keep doing it. I feel very proud of myself, and I think everyone should like take a moment to express pride towards themselves. And you know, like, not that I gave up for a few years, but I took a step back from doing gun violence prevention work for a couple years and did different things in college, and this was not my everyday for 7 years in a row. You know, I've moved into and out of the movement for a long time, and I think that's actually okay. And I think the more we allow ourselves to step in and step out, depending on where we're at in our lives, the more longevity organizations and movements can actually have. But the thing that keeps me going is twofold. One, I think the work of March for Our Lives and the gun violence prevention movement at large is deeply aligned with my personal values and aligned with the personal commitment I made to myself the day I got home from the shooting at my high school, which was, I will work on this as hard as I can as long as I live, because I have the privilege of being alive. And then also I think speaking to March for Our Lives, I think the organization and the name, it's such an integral part to so many young people around my age, especially their personal journey with civic and political engagement. So many young people I've met over the years say their first political or civic action was organizing a walkout at their school after the shooting in Parkland, or organizing a March for Our Lives. And the fact that our organization was able to influence so many young people shows me that it's possible to keep doing that. And we're not the only ones who can do it, but if we can have an impact in some young people's lives out there, I will keep working hard, because that's what matters at the end of the day.